What's going on, geeks and goblins? It's your boy, OG Goblin, and my fellow Utopian Revolt. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm pretty good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing alright. I'm doing just peachy, man. Just peachy. Oh, long day. Long day.
Yeah, I feel that, man.
Oh, and how are you?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just like you, long day. Ready to talk about video games. It's been a pretty juicy week filled with news. We keep thinking that it's gonna slow down in terms of news coming out, but it just seems like it's speeding up. So, kind of crazy.
Right, bro. Like, we can't catch a break.
Oh, you know what? I'll take it, man. Better to talk about some news rather than just like trying to fill the episode with a bunch of stuff, you know. I mean, that's gonna have to happen soon anyways. But at least so we could revel in the big news weeks, beginning the show.
Oh yeah, man. I'm not complaining. So, shall we kick off this week's weekly roundup? We joke about it. It's not on our list, but to kick off the weekly roundup, Morbius is god awful. And moving on, would you like to lead us in?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First item on our weekly roundup this week is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 was delayed till 2023.
Woo, man.
Yeah,
That's a pushback. That's about a
yeah,
whole year.
yeah. Um, how many delays is it now for Breath of the Wild 2?
Uh, is it two? Is it three? Two or three? I think it is.
I've lost count,
I
man. That's how many times it's been.
I mean, like, I don't know, man. I don't know what Nintendo. I'm like not surprised, but I'm also not upset. A game like Breath of the Wild, I've never been the type of person that's like, ugh, delays. That's bad. No, delays are for the most part usually good things, unless you're Morbius, that was delayed like 3 or 4 times. In which case, it's not a good thing. But video games that get
Right.
delayed, man, that as far as I'm concerned, that just means we're gonna get a better product down the line.
I think historically you're right. Of course, there's some exceptions like Duke Nukem Forever, Article
True.
2077. Um, but I mean, those are exceptions to the rule, you know.
Yeah. Uh, I think it'll be good for it at the end of the day. I think at the end of the day it'll be good for it. Next
I
up,
do.
Fortnite gets zero build mode.
Mm,
No more
mm.
building. Of course, they're going to add it in a different mode, but no building right now in their standard modes, man. I'm super excited about it. I've returned to the game with gusto. I'm enjoying it a lot more. I just feel like I can actually play it now.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm seeing the same sentiment being projected by a bunch of people that consider themselves to be more hardcore gamers. Fortnite always made a killing with the casual market, with all the characters it has, all the events that they have. I think this is aimed toward those people who left because of the bullying, like myself included.
Yeah, man. I'm interested from an esports standpoint to see if we maybe get a competitive mode for that. Maybe if the landscape changes up a little bit, you might see. I don't know. You might be able to see some new top names in there. I know Fortnite hasn't been the biggest esport in some time, but who knows? It might bring it back into the landscape.
Yeah,
Moving
I think so.
forward. Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry, you had a point.
Oh no, I was gonna say yeah, I think so too. I think that a lot of people, like I mentioned, a lot of people left Fortnite looking for Warzone or Apex Legends or something like that, and I think we're going to see a little bit more of the esports going forward. Right now, we don't have anything in that regard, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen soon.
Same, man, same. Moving forward, Activision Blizzard settles sexual harassment lawsuit for $18 million. That's hefty.
I think it was the max fine that the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, was able to give. Um, I think it's too small or too little, but if that's the max they could have done, it makes sense. Um, I just, regarding this whole Activision Blizzard thing, it just feels like Bobby Kotick, the CEO of Activision Blizzard, he's gonna get away scot free. He's not gonna have any accountability or anything like that, and that's always disheartening to see, especially when it comes to sexual harassment. Um, but we don't have to see it for very long with Microsoft and Activision Blizzard now.
I agree. It's an unfortunate side effect of big business, and I mean, that's why a lot of people hate big business. It's a lot of times people get done wrong, and the people that do the wrongdoers, they get off scot free. And looking further into this situation right here, it looks like that 18 million equates to about $450 per claimant right now, which is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable,
Yeah.
especially when he is getting a payout of $390 million with this buyout situation. Like, something has to be done on that end. I mean, hopefully, for those that are still with Activision Blizzard, I'm hoping Microsoft treats them better. I'm hoping there is light at the end of this tunnel for these employees.
Right. I mean, considering that Microsoft is also gigantic, it could also be them just going from the teapot to the kettle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it could be worse, but hopefully not. And for all the employees there, I really hope that they end up getting a much better workplace because of it.
Hopefully. I have faith in Microsoft. Maybe it's blindly placed, but I do have faith in Microsoft. Moving forward, Obi-Wan Kenobi gets delayed from May 25th to May 27th, but it will debut with 2 episodes. I cannot tell you how excited I am for that, especially considering the Moon Knight premiere, we got 1 episode. And funny enough, I know this isn't a really on-topic conversation for us, but Atlanta premiered with 2 episodes this
Oh, nice.
past week. So I mean, I maybe we're spoiled now where we get the first 2 episodes of a show, but finding out like Obi-Wan wasn't going to give us the first episode and Moon Knight didn't give us the first episode, I'm very happy for this change.
Honestly, I agree. Considering that it's only 2 days, having the trade-off of also getting 2 episodes, it's nice to have, man. I'm so excited. Um, it sounds like they're going to be also airing the 2 episodes during Star Wars Celebration. So I
Mm.
wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the second episode we see Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader already.
Ooh.
So the fact that we get those 2 episodes right from the beginning, I'm excited, man. Especially considering Moon Knight coming out. I don't know that, but we'll go later.
Hopefully. I mean, like that would be amazing. Have you been to Star Wars Celebration, by the way?
Oh man, no. But I had a golden opportunity when I was living in Orlando with school, and they had Star Wars Celebration in Orlando that year. I didn't end up going for personal reasons, and it's a regret I have, but I'll make it up sometime in the near future.
Oh man, you've got to check out Star Wars Celebration. I went 2 years ago, and it's an experience. Like it is a con like no other cons. I was there when they debuted the trailer for I think it was Revenge of the no, not Revenge of the Jedi. Jesus, Rise of Skywalker. And obviously at the time there was hype. Later came the disappointment, but the hype of being there when a trailer releases. I saw Ray Park there. That was really cool. Like,
Dude.
so catch a Star Wars Celebration. Maybe we can make that a goal for us here. Wrapping up the weekly roundup, we have Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt. The Battle Royale set in the Vampire the Masquerade universe heads to the PS5 and PC on April 27th. I'm personally super excited about that as well. I got to play in the beta. I thought it was really good entertainment. I thought it was a very different experience for a battle royale, and me being a big fan of the franchise from tabletop RPGs, like I'm all in.
Yeah, honestly, man, like I think this is getting people prepared for Bloodlines 2 coming out. I think it's only natural that they start expanding Vampire the Masquerade. It's criminally undertouched in terms of properties. Um, that and also werewolves.
Ooh yeah.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see Blood Hunt finally coming out. I'm wondering what the quality is going to be once it does. I know it was a little buggy after we played it during the beta
Yeah.
test, right? So hopefully they had it baked a little bit longer, and hopefully we get a good game. And I'm excited about it.
I too am excited about it. I want to run a Vampire the Masquerade campaign so bad, but it goes to some dark places. So maybe not. I don't know. I want to do that one live in session though, and not on stream. And that closes out our weekly roundup. Would you like to lead us into our first topic for the afternoon?
So for 2 weeks in a row, we're going to be talking about PlayStation an extensive amount of time. So this week we had the all-new PlayStation Plus tier system being announced.
Yep.
They announced there's going to be three different tiers. We have Essential, which is $9.99 monthly or 60 yearly. It's essentially what PS Plus already is. So you get the two free games a month, you get online multiplayer, cloud save, that stuff. And then we have extra 15 monthly estimate level. Yearly though it's 100, which I believe is cheaper than Game Pass Ultimate per year. I would have to double check that. But there's also the premium version, which is 18 monthly and gets you 120 yearly. So with the extra, you're going to be basically getting all the downloadable games that are already on PlayStation. I don't know how familiar you are now.
Not
Pretty
very familiar
extensive.
at all.
I think I lost audio. I
Oh,
apologize.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I did lose audio.
We can still hear you. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Let's head to a quick break. We'll be right back,
Sorry
folks.
about
Let's deal
that.
with this little audio issue we got going on. And we are back after just a small little smidgen of a technical difficulty. Can you hear me? Are you breathing? Are you
Yes,
alive?
I am alive, miraculously. I can hear you as well, which is both good things, I think.
Praise God, praise God. All is good, God is good all the time. All the time, He is good.
That is good.
All right. Back to what we were talking about. Let's get straight back into it. I believe we were getting into the pricing details of the new PlayStation Plus tier system.
Yes. So we have three different tiers. We have Essential, Extra, and Premium. Essential is basically what PS Plus already was. That is $10 monthly, 60 yearly. I believe that's already what PS Plus was, pricing wise as well. The second one, like I mentioned, was Extra. That one is priced a little bit more competitively with Game Pass Ultimate. It's 15 monthly or 100 yearly, and that does get you all downloadable games on PS Now. And then there's that premium tier, so it's a little bit more expensive than we've seen with any other game subscription service. Maybe compared to like original PS Now pricing, which was like 20 a month. But premium is 18 monthly or 120 yearly, which it's a great deal yearly if you're gonna do that. But essentially, that also gets you streaming classic PS3 games and also downloadable PS1 and PS2 games, and also like extended game trials for select games.
It's exciting. I love that it's kind of on the nose for exactly, what we talked about last week as far as getting into predictions and things we would like to see. I wish we had predicted pricing. I wish we had gotten into that because that would have been interesting to revisit. But I gotta admit, I'm not blown away by this.
Hmm.
I think the pricing is fair. I think that's where I differ from a lot of other people that have shared their opinion on the new PlayStation Plus system. I do think the pricing is fair, but I'm not sure they're offering enough for me to be interested.
I agree. To be honest, I think right now it seems like they're playing it very conservatively. No one really expected that they would do day one like first party games or anything like that.
No one
That's
but
been
me.
confirmed to not be happening. Um, that being said, though, like I think it's something that they can build on. Right now, they are building the foundations. Game Pass Ultimate or just Game Pass in general was nowhere near how good of a value it is now when it first started. So we're seeing the building blocks, I think, for PlayStation to be able to get there one day. Will they ever have day one releases for their first party games? Maybe not. But this is definitely good enough offering right now to appease those on the PlayStation side of things.
I would think so. And at launch, they're going to offer games like Death Stranding and God of War, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, Returnal. There's a lot of good stuff here. I definitely don't see any negative, and maybe you can add some clarity for me. I know that I know they mentioned PC a little bit in the announcement. What exactly are you going to be able to do? Are you just going to be able to stream PS3 games to PC?
So, as far as I'm aware, they did mention that for PC streaming, it's going to be essentially PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 games. They have not announced whether you'll be able to stream PS5 games yet. That may be just in the works for sometime in the future. They may get it in time for the day one of the service launching. But right now, it's essentially all the older generation games that we'll be able to play on PC, provided that you have good enough internet as well.
Interesting. Now, okay, now there is an interesting topic. To sit back and say like I can download PS1, PS2, and PS3 games. A lot of people that have left PlayStation behind, that opens up the door for them to kind of get back into it a little bit. And even for the people that are still, that still have, PS5 and are staying up to date, they can return to a lot of those worlds that they haven't actually put their foot into a long time. And I think that's what's probably the second most interesting thing to me, and I think the number one most interesting thing to me is these aren't games that leave. If I'm correct, PS Now games are stay in the library. They don't rotate out. Correct?
So it depends on the game. I
Okay.
know that within the last year, they've been experimenting with what they call premium releases, where they allow a certain game, let's say Persona 5 or like Horizon Zero Dawn, when like that first came on to like any subscription service. Those were available for like around a month and a half to 3 months, given the game. Most games, though, they do remain on the service for a while, but historically they have removed certain games. Like I know when PS Now first launched, they had Ubisoft games. They had basically every Assassin's Creed game. They don't have any of that anymore. They do leave every now and then, very similarly to Game Pass or
Okay.
Netflix or any of
Okay.
those type.
So then that was a misconception for me because that was a big draw for me. I think that's probably the most disappointing thing for me with PlayStation, not PlayStation Now. I'm sorry, Game Pass. The fact that those games do leave, and my catalog tends to be pretty widespread for the most part. So I don't always get a chance to dive into games as much as I would like. So to know that a game wasn't going to leave the library was actually rather appealing for me. Not that it's taken away much, appeal for me, but that is just a smidgen disappointing. With that said, I took the time on the announcement day to actually go back and look at PlayStation Now's catalog because I haven't looked at it in quite some time, and I got to tell you, for what it's worth, you are getting a really, really good catalog of games here. I'm seeing things like the Last of Us franchise. They've got I was Tekken Tag Tournament 2, which if you're a fighting game lover like me, and that was literally my first PS2 game. So I'm almost like completely sold. You've got the Uncharted franchises on here, a good majority of the Resident Evil games, Red Faction, a franchise which a lot of people have forgotten. It's gone off to obscurity. Pixel Junk, Pac-Man games. I know that these are like older franchises, but still, these are franchises. Some of these are franchises that have impact. You can play all of the Killzone games. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge for me.
I mean, I agree. I feel like you mentioned, a lot of the games that you did list and that are currently in the PS Now library, they're very nostalgia heavy. They're very older type of games, retro, if you will. Although like Mass Effect 2 and 3 are considered retro now. Let's not get into
Wow.
that. I don't want to feel old or anything like that.
Wow.
um, I think. That being said, they are going to have to balance the current library with some newer games
Agreed.
in order to actually effectively compete with Game Pass, if that's what they're aiming to do. Um, on that regard, though, Sony did mention they have almost 200 different publishers and developers that are signing up for the new PS Plus tier system. So I think that we are going to be seeing a lot of day one third-party releases.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see if some of their first-party games also come to the service day one. For example, MLB The Show, which is created by Sony. It for 2 years now, it's been launching day one on Xbox Game Pass,
Yeah.
and that's a Microsoft subscription. I wonder if they're also going to have that for the new PS Plus, but they probably should, right? I mean,
I
I
would
would
think
hope
so.
so if they have any.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
I
would
don't
think
know.
so.
Right.
I don't.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. I just. I'm trying to be excited by it. I'm trying to be excited for it. I don't want to try too hard, but like I got to admit, I'm not. I don't see the appeal yet. I honestly, for me, the biggest appeal is the fact that I could sign up for PlayStation Now right now and get the premium when it comes out. So, based off their upgrade system that they're talking about right there. So, I mean, at least, I'll be able to, I guess you could say try it out. But, I mean, I'm not sure, sitting at home, I would just pull the trigger on a yearly or monthly release for the premium.
Yeah, that's we still don't know a lot about the service. We've only seen preliminary reveals and information so far. I think getting closer to the actual launch date of this new tier system, we might get more excited. They might have more to show. They might just freaking announce, "Hey, we bought Square Enix, and all Square Enix games are going to be on this service now." That
Man,
changes everything.
we're
That
supposed to be
changes
getting big
everything.
news sometime this week. They're supposed to be giving us some more. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens. I don't know.
No, I mean, whenever it happens, you can bet that it's going to be on Geeks and Goblins that week. That's for freaking sure.
Oh, that's a fact. I'd like to think if we hear anything, it'll be on Monday. It's the weekend, you know, like businesses are closed, the offices are out. Like there's a lot of stuff that I'm waiting for on Monday, honestly, from a lot of different spheres. But hopefully we get some exciting news on Monday. A Square Enix acquisition would be absolutely ridiculous. Do I think it's gonna happen? No, but I will be I'll own up to that if I'm wrong. I'll definitely own up to that if I'm wrong.
So Greg Miller from Kind of Funny Games, previously of IGN
Yep.
fame, and also Jeff Grubb from Grub Snacks. He has his own podcast. Notorious leaker and just great insider information for the gaming industry. They both have heard something very interesting lately, apparently, about a pretty big acquisition. How big, I don't know. Like I mentioned, Square Enix is of course a possibility. They've worked very closely with Sony in the past and in the present. Um, but I think it's going to be something closer along the lines of maybe just, I don't know, maybe Kojima Productions. So that seems like a pretty likely move. It's not going to be too big either in terms of like the monetary value, at least not that I'm aware of, anyways. But it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing now in this near future, and how that kind of like ties into the new PS Plus tier system. Because it seems like Sony now is trying to move from exclusively working on blockbuster games to working more on live service games with some of the more recent acquisitions they've done, like Bungie,
Yeah.
like Fire Sprite Games, like Haven Studios, that type of stuff. So yeah, it's interesting to see this new Sony. You know?
It is. It is. I just hope it works out for them. Microsoft, I feel like Microsoft put the foot on the ground first with these acquisitions. Bethesda, man, like Activision Blizzard, like those are titans. So
Yeah.
and admittedly with them, like there's not a whole lot of ground left to capture. Um and I'm just not sure Sony has the pockets for it. So you say things like they may buy like Kojima, and I know when we first got these conversations talking, we talked about the needle and whether or not it moves my needle, and it just didn't move my needle. Like maybe because I didn't
Yeah.
like Death Stranding, maybe because I like to play devil's advocate. I don't know, but I it's got to be Square, it's got to be Ubisoft, and Rockstar. Like those would be the three for me at this game. It's not gonna happen. I know it's not gonna happen, especially Rockstar. They're doing
It
perfectly
may.
fine on their own.
I mean, it may happen. We at the beginning of the year, I would have told you that Activision Blizzard's never going to be purchased by anybody.
Oh well, that's
That
valid.
ended up happening. Um, I don't know though. I feel like for me, the needle was so far in PlayStation's favor that Microsoft getting Bethesda and Activision Blizzard has kind of evened it out. It's a little bit towards Microsoft's end at this point, but I just really think that Bethesda and Activision Blizzard was more so Microsoft playing catch up to PlayStation.
That's fair.
Not in terms of like finances, because they do have behemoths of games under their umbrella now, and they're probably gonna be outselling Sony games. Just in terms of quality is what I'm speaking of.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, back to the topic at hand, sir. Will you be getting PlayStation Plus's new system? And if so, which tier will you be investing in?
I'm definitely going to be trying out the premium service for a month. For a month, I don't think I'm going to keep it. It all depends on how extensive the game trials are and the quality of the library. But I think I can see myself maybe moving towards just that $15 the extra service that gets you all the downloadable games. That's probably as much as I can do.
I feel that.
But I think there's a lot of different factors. I've been going more into PC gaming, and I have to see how much they're going to be catering to the PC crowd with this service. But right now, I think I can safely say it will be that extra tier that I'll be subscribing to.
I think I'm gonna have to feel the same. I am gonna take advantage of this little upgrade loophole and subscribe to PlayStation Now, so that way I can I can get my foot into the premium door when the time comes. Also, funny enough, I mean, it's time for me to renew my PlayStation Plus anyway, apparently, according to my sister. But I think that'll be a perfect opportunity to really give it a shot. And then, depending on how I feel, honestly, I may go back down to Essential. I touch my PlayStation now. Pardon, I touch my wife's PlayStation now just so that I can play Mass Effect, and that's about to be done. And then I will be right back on my PlayStation, just so I can play Andromeda. So,
Mm,
to be fair, I don't know. I think they might have me at an Essential level if they have me at all.
yeah,
Just
that's
to
where
be
I'm at
fair.
too.
Just to be fair.
Hmm.
Ah, man. Moving on. Ah, I don't even want to read
Ooh.
this note. Like, I don't even want to. I don't even want to read this note. I really don't. It makes me very very sad. But I will read. I will read the note. Is E3 dead? For those of you who do not know, the Electronic Entertainment Expo 2022 has been canceled. No real reason has been cited as to why. Just the pandemic obviously has been a huge factor in that, coming all the way back to 2019 on the first cancellation, then 2020, the last cancellation, now 2022. E3's bread and butter is the physical attendance. That's what people want to see. They want to be able to go and put their hands on the new games. It's one thing to watch an announcement online, and then another thing to be able to say like, oh wow, yeah, no, I firsthand played an exclusive demo of Rainbow Six Siege 2. You know,
Yeah.
it hurts. It always hurts to. It's hurt for the last 3 years now to see that headline E3 canceled.
Yeah, honestly, I think I saw a tweet of yours a couple days ago, essentially comparing E3 to the Super Bowl of video games, and that is so freaking accurate, man.
Oh
Just
man,
those 3 4 days of keynotes, and you just know that from start to finish in the day, you're going to be getting so much massive news. You'll be able to see gameplay of the most anticipated game that you have for that year. This a It's a feeling like no other. And I think, unfortunately, E3 is dead. And I think even prior to the pandemic, it's been kind of going that way, anyways, with Sony pulling out, having their own thing, Nintendo essentially having their treehouse thing. That is somehow part of E3, but also its
nah,
own thing
yeah,
at the same time.
weird.
um, yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. From what I've heard, there was speculation for a couple of years now that E3 is, with the ESA, it's been horribly managed, and I think the pandemic kind of was just a nail on the coffin, especially with everyone else starting to have their own thing. Now Square Enix has Square Enix Presents, Ubisoft
Yeah.
has Ubisoft Forward. Uh, I think we're seeing the end of E3, unfortunately.
Interestingly enough, they have announced that they are working on a live and digital for 2023. I'm gonna keep my hopes up, but those last few words you said to me there sparked something in my mind. The biggest problem with E3 as it stands is that everyone is going digital. It's one thing for E3 to go digital, but their bread and butter is pulling in those publishers and those developers and saying, hey, come to the show what you got. And now we live in a day and age where all of that can be done, on YouTube. It can be done on Twitch. It can be done anywhere else. So the need isn't there for these companies to shell out X amount of dollars to get their workers there, and security for what they're trying to
Yeah,
show, and get these big booths going. And then especially when you get on to the flagship presentations, your Microsoft, your Sony, your Nintendo, they don't have to invest that money into getting the stage time and putting on the show, flying people out. I think it's funny. I think we take for granted just how big of a production all of that
mhm.
is. There's no just plugging and playing and saying, okay, this is gonna work today. There's rehearsals. There's so much in the background that people aren't familiar with, and it saves these companies so much money not going.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, ESA is already planning for next year's E3 if that happens. Hopefully, it does, like you said. Um, it takes a while to get all these shows ready, and I think that's probably what I'm going to miss the most this year with E3 potentially having had a live audience. It would have been nice to see that after the terrible beginning to the decade. Um,
Yeah.
That being said, though, I think the biggest winner in this entire situation is probably Jeff Keighley and Gamescom.
You read my
I
mind.
think, um, man, I think Gamescom is poised to become the new Super Bowl of gaming, and I don't think it's ever going to reach the heights that E3 had in the past. Especially, I'm thinking about conferences like I remember Sony. They started up their press conference with a live orchestra playing the God of War music, and
Oh,
everyone's like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" And then they
oh,
reveal God of War. Oh man,
my
see,
spirit.
that's what I'm gonna miss.
I
That's what
hear
I'm
it.
gonna miss.
Like, I would have banged on my
Mhm.
desk thinking about it, and just like let it play and get all the DMCA strikes on the planet. But like, oh, that's what I mean, man. Like, oh, we don't have that anymore. E3 was, what you just said to me, what you just said to me, like evoked that feeling of like watching
Yeah.
your favorite artist perform at a Super Bowl halftime show. We look back, there's so many memorable moments from E3, and it's just hard to sit here and say, oh yeah, E3 is probably dead. It's so hard to say that. Like, I almost wish, like, in my opinion, from a branding standpoint, I didn't go to school for this, but you know, Geeks and Goblins Productions, you know how we do. We like to come up with ways to get this selling. My opinion, Jeff Keighley needs to step in. He should step in. Not to say that the Game Awards at Gamescom, he doesn't have anything going for him there, because that is far from the truth. He doesn't need to do this. But oh my god, if he is already gaming's Jesus. Like, imagine if the man floated down from the skies into the headquarters of the ESA and says, "I have a proposition for you," like, and
You
just
know,
blends the brands.
it's funny because he actually worked with the ESA very closely, at least for the last couple years of E3
Yeah.
in its current rendition. He had his own segment, the E3 Coliseum. I remember that, but I don't know if this is just in my head, some sort of fever dream I had, or actual speculation that was reported on. But I get the feeling that him and the ESA didn't really part on good terms. And I think that's why he kind of shifted to Gamescom instead of trying to reconcile. But maybe now is the time. Like you said, he is gaming Jesus, and it's crazy to see his growth as a just a gaming personality. From I remember back at the Spike Game Awards, and
Oh my
then
god.
his VGX when that first
Yeah.
started, and how he had a co-host that like legitimately hated him and they were feuding or something, to like what he's created with the Game Awards and how respectable that entire production is. So I think at this point, someone like Jeff Keighley is probably the only thing that can save E3 at this point. And yeah, let's see if that happens. I don't think it's going to happen. I think what we're going to start seeing is that PAX, if anything, is going to start kind of filling in that void in the
Huh.
Western Hemisphere, and in Europe, we're still going to have Gamescom, and then you still have the Tokyo Games Show and all that. I think we're just as much as I want to keep Hope alive. You know, I'm a very optimistic person, sometimes
Yeah.
naively so. I just don't think E3 is ever going to come back. At this point, it's what, 4 years? If they come back, they have to reinvent themselves in a way that we've never seen and we probably can't predict.
I will, as always, as I tend to do in the show, continue to play devil's advocate and hope and pray that we do get E3 2023. I hope to be right there with you, walking the aisles of E3 next year, with our a shitty Wi-Fi connection, or a mobile hotspot, broadcasting live on the E3 floor. I hope for that, and I dream for that. And in the meantime, I will take a third year of hosting the Game Awards, which I think would make sense to move over to Geeks and Goblins come the right time. So, and until that time, oh, E3, we love you, we miss you. I hope to see you rise from the ashes and move your stone and release yourself back unto the world, and give me another reason to call off for 2 days in a row. Please, we miss you, Gaming Super Bowl. We miss you. What we do not
Please, Jeff
miss,
Keighley.
what we do not miss is those GPU prices. Man, the day I get a 3080 Ti, the day The guy, whoever runs Nvidia, just says, "Oh, you know what? That Chris guy, screw him. Drop the 3090 Ti." Granted, I would never buy it, but the 3090 Ti launched last week for $1,999 MSRP. That's a hefty asking price for 8% performance increase over the current flagship model at Nvidia. I do not think the price is justified in the slightest.
Right. I think essentially what they're probably going for with the 3090 Ti is to get those ultra enthusiasts. But I also think it's more so trying to fill in that kind of void that's been missing ever since the Titan series has kind of been shoved for the wayside. I know that the 3080 Ti and the 3090 itself basically filled that void, but the 3090 Ti pushes that even further. It does seem like it's catered more towards workstations where that 8 to 10% increase in performance would make a difference. But I'm not freaking buying that for 2000. Not happening.
No, no, absolutely not. You said something very like important there. Workstations, right? So I got in. Not, I don't want to say I got into it, but me and another coworker were having a bit of a discussion, just about a 3090, and it leads me to like a conversation on PC part culture, because there's only so much to talk there about a 3090 Ti launch, but I think just due to these like chip shortages, and this is across the board, with the PS5, the Xboxes, graphics cards, Switches, even at one point when the OLEDs launched, there's so much misinformation around, the need. 3090s, 3090 Ti's, those were essentially replacements for the Titans. And if you know anything about graphics cards, as a gamer, you don't need a Titan at all. You just don't need it. It's not doing anything for you. What it does very well in a very specific section of what it does. 3090s are not gaming cards. Those are meant for workstations, machine learning, content creation, like heavy content creation, video editing, 3D printing, stuff like that. That's what those cards were used for. And I feel like because of the rush for everybody to buy everything in the last 2 years, we have gone without these cards and without these consoles for so long, man. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, like, the culture around, ooh, you need the latest graphics card.
It's yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's all about the scarcity that we've had for the past couple of years. Especially with the pandemic, it basically was a catalyst for an increase, or I guess more people joining that PC culture. And I think now that more and more people have been joining the PC gaming side of things, they've been just trying to find the latest and greatest thing. And unfortunately, there is maybe not, depending on who you ask, unfortunately, fortunately, whatever. But it's just ultimately a flex. If you're a gamer and you get a 3090 Ti, I promise you did not need that performance. You're just doing it for a flex. Whether it's for the people around you or for yourself, it is a flex. And I just think that PC gaming as a whole has kind of turned into that. With RGB, with like really cool builds. It's always been kind of about the flex, but we've been seeing an increase in that mentality for the past couple of years, I think.
And it's such a weird flex, because if you look up the numbers, you literally crunch the numbers, and they're not hard to find. No one's telling you to go get this card, pop it in your computer, actually crunch the numbers. There are countless YouTube videos and people who get paid to do this that, have sat back and crunched the numbers, and they have said it. Your 3090 is not going to perform at 4K for gaming the way you think it will. In a lot of instances, 3080s outperform 3090s in gaming. In a lot of instances, and where the 3090 will outperform in, say, AutoCAD or rendering and exporting in Photoshop using 4K footage. 1440p, it does very, very well, but there's just so much misinformation, even down to like, you look at the PS5 box, it says 8K on it. Who? Like, please point me in the right direction of all the people that are buying the Samsung Q900. I don't know where they are, and I think I think the funniest thing to me personally, I think the more insulting thing in regards to this culture is people were complaining, oh, I can't get a good graphics card. I can't get a good graphics card. Oh, I'm sitting on this build. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. And they're only trying to game when at any point in the last 2 years, any point, after maybe a month or two after launch, you could have gone to bestbuy.com, Amazon, wherever you want to buy your graphics card, and get an AMD 6600, 6700, 68, and 6900. Pardon that, 67, 68, and 6900 at any time. They were readily available, and they were all you needed for performance gaming. But people are so caught up in the green tag that you need the NVIDIA, the 3000 series, that they withheld their ability to, you know, enjoy what they want to enjoy at its potential just because.
Yeah, you're right. And I think it just speaks to how much of a kind of like stranglehold NVIDIA has on that GPU market. I think AMD has made long strides in performance, but I think they haven't necessarily pulled off what they have with processors in the same way for GPUs.
No.
They are slowly getting there, but I think now with Intel entering the GPU market, the enthusiast GPU market, we're going to start seeing some competition, and hopefully everything starts kind of migrating from specifically that green tag to maybe some of that red and blue tag as well. But if you're watching this and you are thinking about building a PC and you still need to get a GPU, please do not buy the 3090 Ti. Save that money for the 40 series cards that we're going to be seeing probably at the end of the year. That's going to be a much better investment, I promise you.
What? But like, no, don't do it. Don't listen to Utopian Revolt. Save that money for when the 4 series comes out and then get a 3000 series card.
Yeah, that too.
But no, I see what you're saying. I think when they launch the lower end ones will definitely be worth it. I think we're going to see the same thing with the new numbers. I genuinely think that's what it's going to be. But I mean, even now, I mean, I think NVIDIA is going to shoot real quick. Is it NVIDIA or NVIDIA? I've heard both.
I think it's NVIDIA.
Let's go with that. Let's go. Let's go with that. Like I was saying, I think they keep shooting themselves in the foot. Just like, no one will need it, man. Just there's only so much performance left that we could squeak out of things, man. Like I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my build and I'm like, I don't know how much better I can do from a performance standpoint. Like, there's not much else for me to upgrade. Like, more RAM. I can get GDDR5 RAM and drop $400, $500 on that. But I mean, I don't need anything else. As a gamer, from a gamer standpoint, I don't need anything else. From a production standpoint, yeah, I'd shoot for a 3090, but like, price-wise, not for right now, especially since GPUs are available right now. You can go to Best Buy's website and just toss it in a cart. A week ago, you had to toss it in your queue. Right now, you just put it in the cart. It's a terrible time to launch. It's just a terrible time when it doesn't make sense.
I agree. And it's just going back to the fact that this is strictly for enthusiasts and for that production side of things, like you mentioned. But, aside from performance, aside from pricing, even logistically, I was told, I don't know if this is accurate, I'm going to have to confirm this and verify this, but I was told that it has an entire freaking hook to keep it from sagging. The 3090 Ti does. And when your freaking GPU needs an entire podium to make sure that it stays the way it is, that's we're getting to like insane levels of just heaviness and just, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Oh my god, it's crazy.
So I can, in some way, shape, or form, I can confirm the hook. I can confirm the cable. Hold on, I'm trying to get an actual image. There we go. Let's call it what it is. The leash is really what it's what they refer to it as. That is not my name. That is not my name for it. The leash. This is the leash right here, as you folks can see right here. Free with your EVGA. I do believe it is an EVGA exclusive item. With the E-leash, graphic card always stays at the right position. First off, the grammar here is what blows my mind. Like, it seems humorous to me. With Elish, graphic card always stays at the right position. Like, that's I almost want to think, I know it's April 2nd, but it just feels like an April Fool's Day situation.
Oh my
Oh, that
god.
is insane to me. It is gigantic.
Yeah.
That's how beefy this 8% increase is. It is utterly huge.
Yeah, I mean, jeez, I don't even know what else to say about it. Like, it's a weird announcement at a weird time, especially with everything else dropping down in price back to MSRP ranges. I don't see myself ever getting a 3090 Ti. If it falls in my lap, yeah, I mean, of course I'm gonna take it, but I don't know, man. It's interesting to see enthusiast level cards being announced like this. And I haven't seen much fanfare around it. Of course, people are going to be oohing and ahhing at the latest and greatest thing, but I don't think there's going to be much of a market for this thing. But I'm probably going to be proven wrong in like a couple weeks.
Oh, though people will buy it. They won't know why they bought it, but they will buy it.
Yeah, the flex, man.
Can definitely agree there. Do it for the clout. Do it for the gram. Do it for the TikTok. Do it for the YouTube. Moving. Oh. We're getting here on to our last segment of Geeks and Goblins for the night. Sir, lead us in.
Oh my God, Chris, you know what dropped this last Wednesday?
How could I not, man? I've been waiting ages for this.
Oh man, all right. Geeks and Goblins audience, our last segment is a review of Moon Knight episode 1. Oh, what a freaking episode! What an episode! We were talking about this just a little bit ago. Kenobi coming out with 2 episodes. I was watching Moon Knight episode 1 yesterday, and as soon as it ended, I'm like, crap, man, I need more right now. I need more. You said you were looking forward to this for a very long time. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts.
My thoughts are this. I loved it. I loved it a lot. Moon Knight got me back into comic books, actually. So to find out that they were doing the series for me was like, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely sitting down for this. I thought it was very obscure. He is, in the comics anyway, he's kind of like a pseudo Batman. They kind of play into this whole the psychology of the character a little bit more with Moon Knight than they do with Batman. There are a lot of similarities there. Getting into that, actually, let's talk about our lead here, Oscar Isaac, powerhouse of an actor. There were just moments in this episode that caught me off guard and that made me say, oh boy, he's the one, man. Specifically, yeah. In case we didn't say this at the beginning, I think, to be fair, as an episode breakdown and review, this is spoiler territory. The scene that caught me for Oscar Isaac was the scene at the steakhouse. The hurt. Oh my god. I felt that. Having been a person that has been in that position, not specifically, you lost 2 days, but that feeling of, you're doing everything you can to do something right and get this result. Like, he made me feel like this person is lonely. Like, this guy is going through it, and he's realizing, oh shit, like, I lost another opportunity, and the way he played that out, man, that's what solidified him in this character for me. I think he's doing a stellar job.
Oh man, I agree. I mean, I think it was episode 2 of Geeks and Goblins. You had mentioned that certain people were putting him right up there with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man.
Yep.
And after just one episode, again, I'm going to say this again, one episode, I think he's already up there, man. His acting was phenomenal. And it's crazy because I was watching this with Mia, and she wasn't aware that this was a Marvel Studios title at the time. So throughout the entire episode, she's like, I'm wondering what they're doing here. This is a little confusing. What's going on? I think that she initially thought it was like some sort of psychological thriller type of show. And man, like you said, that one scene with the steakhouse, and I just think throughout the entire episode, you start getting this like feeling of pity for Steven, for that character. And man, I'm still moved. I only watched this like less than 24 hours ago, and I've been thinking about it all freaking day, and I've just been thinking about how I'm ready for more, and how already in this one episode, again, one episode, it's already the best Marvel Studios show that's come out on Disney Plus.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's just my personal opinion, of course, my perspective. But it grabbed me in a way that none of the other initial episodes did.
Wow, that is a very, 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 very bold statement right there. And in the landscape of WandaVisions and Captain America and the Winter Soldier, that I was about to say Captain Falcon, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and Loki, that is a very bold statement. I gotta, as I do to play devil's advocate here, I gotta admit, as much as I enjoyed episode 1, I'm not 100% sold yet, and I'll tell you why. I'm not entirely sure where they're going with this. So we do know, we did learn recently that canonically it takes place after Hawkeye, which is, I believe, same time around No Way Home. So this is the furthest we've seen in the MCU timeline thus far. I'm interested to see where they go. Very, very interested. Obviously, we're going more into the supernatural lane with the MCU now, especially if you've seen Eternals. You know that Blade has a voiceover cameo in the post-credit scene there. Clearly, Multiverse of Madness. We've always had Doctor Strange that kind of leaned into the mysticism side of the MCU, so it's refreshing to see them kind of really lean into that now. If you're not familiar with Moon Knight at all, his first appearance was in Werewolf by Night, which is way back. And actually, really quick before we continue, little Easter egg. If you go back and watch the first episode of Moon Knight and go to the scene where he first arrives at his job and he walks the little girl over to the sarcophagus to start talking about the sarcophagus, there is a QR code to the top left of that sarcophagus. If you scan that QR code, you get the first issue of Werewolf by Night featuring Moon Knight's very first appearance. So if you want to check that out, get some history on the character, by all means, please do that. As I was saying, Werewolf by Night is inherently a supernatural character, and through that we go back to the history of Marvel, where, and not even necessarily just Marvel, but comic books, where supernatural characters, zombies, vampires, demons, those like, were removed from comic books altogether due to the war on comic books that was happening at the time. So when Moon Knight came back, he came back with Blade. He came back with Dracula, who a lot of people are theorizing Ethan Hawke's character, our villain, to actually be Dracula at the end of the day.
So a lot of impact there. It's damn, man. That's really freaking cool. Oh, jeez. It's interesting to see where they're gonna go, and I can understand why you're hesitant towards it. I think at this point, by the way, we should go from calling you Devil's Advocate to Goblin Advocate. I think it's just only natural. So I was gonna say that I was gonna walk back my initial hot take, but thinking about it, I think it only kind of doubles down what I'm about to say. I completely forgot Hawkeye was a thing. I have not watched a single episode of Hawkeye.
What?
I have not finished The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I've watched 2 episodes of it, and I have not finished Loki. I've watched 2 episodes of that as well.
Oh, the devil is alive, and he is in the stream tonight. Oh,
oh man, that goes to my point though. Like, none of those shows, other than WandaVision, hooked me. None of them hooked me, and I am going to go back and watch them just because the geek inside of me requires it, and just because you're exercising me right now on stream.
I was.
I don't know, man. That's what I'm trying to say, though. Like, Moon Knight, it hooked me, and I'm going to be watching every single episode when it comes out. But, yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to say that there is that caveat of me not having watched the entirety of the other shows when it comes to the discussion here. And of course, I know a lot of people are going to discredit my opinion, but I'm going to double down, and that is just proof of what I was saying. It didn't hook me, and in terms of audience numbers, like it wasn't high up there. They weren't like any of the highest watched shows.
That's fair.
On Disney Plus.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? Like.
So
the casual people, they agree with me. They agree with me.
So, okay, I will give you this. I will allow that to say that it captured you. So that's a good thing. What I will not allow is you not to see the other Marvel shows. You have to watch them. You absolutely have to. But with that said, there is a reason why you are the geek and I'm the goblin. We have our lanes, so we stick to them. But I refuse to let you get through the rest of your existence without having seen at least WandaVision and Loki. I can kind of slide on Hawkeye a little bit. I can slide on Captain America and the Winter Soldier a little bit. But those two, especially going into Multiverse of Madness, are essential watching. You have to watch those if we are to go into the movie theater together and watch this movie. I cannot sit there and be like, well, she's red for a reason, Alex. Like, I can't do that with you. You have to finish these shows. We digress. Moving back into Moon Knight, I'm so hurt by you. Moving back into Moon Knight.
I want to say something, though.
Yeah.
Say something real quick. So I have watched WandaVision. It's in its entirety. I freaking loved it. And I have liked what I've watched of Loki so far. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's just started off way too slow. But going back to your point about us having our own lanes, am I correct in assuming that you haven't watched the entirety of Star Wars Rebels or Star Wars The Bad Batch?
You're 100% correct. You're 100% correct.
That's where we balance each other out.
Before
Kenobi comes out, we're going to be watching all of that. Before the Multiverse of Madness comes out, you and I are both going to be watching all of that as well. So, as of right now, yes, I am uncultured, but that will be changing very soon, I promise.
You said it, not me. You said it, not me. Don't worry, we will get each other in balance. I will watch. I do need to watch Rebels, and I do need to watch The Bad Batch. I have been a bad Star Wars fan. I must admit, I have been a bad Star Wars fan, but in the exact same way where I can understand where you're talking about, they just didn't catch me. Moving back to Moon Knight, we're leaving Steven and Mark Spector behind. Speaking of which, I think an aspect that this show that I'm super happy about with the show that they did not water down at all is the mental health aspect of the character. He has DID, dissociative. I always forget the actual full phrasing for it. Dissociative identity disorder. Thank you. Thank you to my brain that decided to work. But he does suffer from that in the actual comics, and I think it's funny. I was explaining to Danny, he as a character, Mark Spector is an identity, and Moon Knight is an identity, and other characters in his world are identities, and he can almost be characterized as saying to everyone else, Moon Knight is this dude that, for all that we know, could be running around in, toilet tissue, running around calling himself Moon Knight and beating up people in the streets. But in his mind, he is the Moon Knight. So it opens up so many doors for storytelling there. It's an interesting flip on the whole secret identity perspective.
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to have a secret? Well, the best way to have a secret identity is not to even know that you have it, right?
Yeah.
I think you're right, though. I'm glad that you mentioned the mental health aspect of it, because it was just very interesting. And I think it pulls you even more into the show, because you start, feeling really hurt for this guy. You're like, wow, man, that must really suck to live with that. It must be a huge challenge, and like you mentioned it earlier, it must feel so lonely. And I've never had a character introduced like that to me that has immediately grasped me, and I'm already rooting for him. Within the first 15, 20 minutes of the show, I was already rooting for this character. And I think that's a gigantic success on their part. And man, it's really cool to see. And what I really liked is that they did show a lot of that mental health side of it, and it showed you the lowest of his lows, but it also balanced it out with a great amount of humor, even with like the music choices that they had during the episode.
Yeah.
It felt like a gigantic roller coaster. I'm used to watching shows. Even when you introduced me to Atlanta, that felt like a roller coaster to me. Where oh man, that was really funny. Oh crap, something real happened.
Yeah.
Whereas this show, I don't think it ever really went up and down. It was just going sideways. It was going both sides at the same exact time, and it made it very disorienting in the best possible way.
I agree. I agree. Something I'm super excited about to look forward to is trying to figure out which one of these is the dominant persona. Really, is Mark the dominant persona, or is Steven the dominant persona? And depending on the case, how did it end up this way? In the comics, I feel like I really can't give too much away here because we are talking about an established lore. But in the comics, Mark is the dominant persona. If there was the person born to a mother was Mark Spector, and Stephen Grant is the persona. So the way they're playing it out here, or at least the way that we're seeing it from an audience perspective, is that Stephen is the dominant persona here, and Mark kind of takes a back seat. Another interesting twist that they're doing here is it looks like the Moon Knight persona is directly tied to Mark Spector. Whereas in the comics, the Moon Knight persona is a whole separate persona in itself. That is super interesting to me. Super interesting to me.
I wonder if they make it if they did it like that to make it a little easier to follow on the silver screen and also on the big screen once he does get into like some of the bigger movies. Assuming that it does happen, it's probably going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it is definitely an interesting thread to follow as the show progresses. But even during that first episode, we did see kind of like the mantle starting to be passed from Steven to Mark. Literally at the very end of the episode, that mantle was passed willingly, and I think throughout the rest of the show, we are going to start seeing Mark becoming more of the main identity. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that unfolds, how they tell that story, how they portray that. So far, they've done a great job of doing it, and I'm excited to see how they're going to be kind of like unraveling that thread as it goes.
Oh yeah. I do love that they kept Moon Knight from us until the very end, and even then we only got a taste. And I think that's something that so many of the shows miss. They give us everything that we're expecting from the very beginning. Even with Hawkeye, we were introduced to Kate Bishop and her abilities within the first episode. We know that she is a master marksman. We know everything we need to know about Kate Bishop in the first episode. And that was one of my concerns going into the show, considering how complex of a character Moon Knight is. You can't just give us Mark Spector and Stephen Grant and Moon Knight collectively in the same episode in 30 minutes. Right. You cannot do that in this type of show. He is too complex to say, okay, we're just going to completely jump all the way from Stephen all the way to Mark, and then Mark back to Stephen, and then Stephen to Moon Knight. You can't do it. All three of them deserve their own screen time, and I think it was very well done to really just give us Stephen with like flashes of Mark and then a touch of Moon Knight. And I kind of hope it plays that way out for the rest of the season.
I agree. I think it may have been a little unfounded to have those fears going into it, mainly because the other Marvel shows we've gotten are already established characters. Even just Hawkeye in general, everyone knows basically the premise of Hawkeye. And Kate Bishop, while she is a new character to the MCU as a whole, she is still very much Hawkeye, and there's not really much else you can show with those abilities. I do know that she has a different like ability set than Clint, of course. But with Moon Knight, we're getting basically the very first origin TV show in the MCU history.
True.
At least in the new MCU history. And it only made sense that they would start from the bottom and progress from there. That being said, though, the geek perspective here is that we're going to be seeing much more Moon Knight as soon as episode 2. I think we're going to
Ooh.
start seeing just Moon Knight kind of dominate the show. Not to say that we're not going to get much of Steven or, Steven or Mark. I just think I don't know. They're still trying to get people to subscribe to Disney Plus to watch this stuff. You know, it's still a gigantic marketing train. I think they're gonna just try to put that outfit out there as much as they possibly can.
That's fair. That is very fair. A lot of the stuff coming out as far as action figures and Funko Pops also look really, really cool. So I definitely see where you're coming from with that. How do you feel about Ethan Hawke's Harrow as the villain? I don't really know where they're going yet. I'm definitely in the weird train that at the end of the day we're gonna get to that last episode and he will end up being Dracula, like a Dracula. That's really kind of what I want. But how do you feel about him so far?
I forget the character's name in Game of Thrones, but the head of the religious group. That's kind of the vibe that I got from it. Very early on in the episode, his character looks like he's genuinely sympathetic and he genuinely cares about the people in his group. It's a fucking cult, but we'll call it a group in this episode of Geeks and Goblins.
Ah.
But I don't know. It was very interesting because you did see kind of a terrifying aspect to his character in that ruthlessness, but you also saw much more a reserved nature, more so than we're used to seeing with a Marvel villain, I think.
I I agree. I'm hoping he doesn't go the way of the Marvel villain where he gets axed at the very end. I'm hoping that there's life for this character after as Dracula, but I'm trying to really figure out his motives. Short of obviously this is a cult. Short of he's following Amit's will and wants the world to be properly judged, the true good to rise and rule the earth, as opposed to the evil and pure-hearted, tainted-hearted ones will be, wiped away from the earth that they hope to create. I'm hoping that there's more to him to that. Not more to him in the sense that, oh, he's also just power-hungry, as most villains tend to be, but I'm hoping there's some nuance there. I will say that Ethan Hawke's performance is hauntingly interesting. I'm not afraid of him, but I'm definitely wary of him. I think the way he characterizes this character, the way he moves, the way he speaks to people, he definitely has captured that kind of cult leader essence to him. Even as far as to the scene in the museum when he's talking to Steven and he's trying to pick apart his brain, and he does eventually weigh out his scales and sees that there's chaos in him. But the way he even tells you, he's like, I'm trying to help you. Like he's playing that so well. I was convinced. I thought maybe this guy's really not as bad as we think he is, until he sends the hell jackal after him at the very end.
Yeah, that was an interesting turn. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, interesting. That character just seems to be like just genuinely sympathetic towards what Steven was going through. But no, that was a fucking lie. I don't know, man. I think there was a lot of nuance with the delivery in his lines, and even like that one line in particular, "There's chaos in you." That was haunting, man. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, this show so far, just from the two main characters and the side characters as well, great performances all around.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since I've seen a show that immediately has gripped me the way that this one has.
Now, I am afraid. I will say I am afraid of two things specifically about Moon Knight. One, the special effects budget, I feel, went all the way to WandaVision and Loki over there at Disney Marvel. There are moments in this show where I just cringed, or I was, what is happening? I'm fearful for the budget. I'm hoping if it didn't go to WandaVision and Loki, it at least went to the Moon Knight scenes. The end scene did look very good. Everything from that last shot in the dark, as most bad CGI does, looked really, really good towards the end. My other major fear is the use of a potential MacGuffin in this golden scarab that Ethan Hawke, Harrow wants so badly from the, I would say, maybe midway point of the episode with Steven. What is it, and to what end will it be used to save the day?
Yeah, I really don't know where they're going to be going with that. I think it could just be used as a way to introduce Moon Knight and his intentions compared to Stevens. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see where they're going to go with that. I hope it doesn't drag on for the entire series. But going back to your original point, honestly, man, like I get kind of excited at the idea of a low budget MCU property.
Ooh,
And one thing I do want to say, special effects aside, Mia and I both really, really appreciated the cinematography. There were multiple
yeah.
takes where it was just a single take, and it showed you so many different aspects of the scene. And I'm a sucker for good cinematography, and
Oh,
it definitely won me over in that regard. Same thing with audio design. Every other aspect of the show, other than the special effects, has kind of like it's been really freaking cool to see. That being said, though, we're gonna have to wait and see on how the CGI looks going forward. But even if it looks kind of bad and corny, I don't think it's that big of a deal. As long as they do the character justice in a bigger property, maybe like kind of a entourage type of movie.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know though. I do agree with you. It did look wonky at times, but I was pleased. I like low budget movies and low budget shows. I think that there's definitely a place for them. And I honestly think that some of the lowest budget movies ended up telling the most powerful narratives, you know?
That's fair. That is very fair. Well, coming towards the end here, do you have any predictions going forward for Moon Knight? How do you think it's all
Oh,
going to play out?
that's hard for me to answer because you definitely know Moon Knight much more than I do. My only exposure to him has just been this one episode so far. So I guess I'm going to present a question to you.
Ooh,
Um, do do you have any predictions on how this ties in to the rest of the MCU? Do you think we're going to be seeing any cameos going forward?
I think if we see any cameos going forward, they will be either Blade or they will be the Black Knight. Arthur. I always forget his name. I always want to say Arthur Dane. Jon Snow's character from the Eternals movie. I think those will be the only two that we get, and potentially Werewolf by Night. Werewolf by Night is confirmed to get a Halloween special or Christmas special. I can't remember. And just so we can be clear, his name is not Werewolf. His actual character name is Werewolf by Night. I know, it's weird. You kind of got to read the comic. But those are really my only predictions here. Besides Harrow being Dracula, that would be pretty baller. That would open up the door for um, Dracula. Also, the concept of the Aeonid, some of the Egyptian gods, has been brought up a multitude of times in that episode. For those of you who aren't familiar, one of the members of the Aeonid is Bast. Bast is the Egyptian panther god that is worshipped by the people of Wakanda, who is the Black Panther a direct tie to. We see Bast in the Black Panther film. So, I would like to also see somewhere down the line a connection there. I would love to see Bast kind of speaking out with Khonshu, the god that is that makes the Moon Knight avatar as well. Those would be my predictions. And lastly, I would rate Moon Knight episode 1. I will give it a solid 4 as a premiere. I think it gives us everything we need to know about the character Stephen Grant. I think we're now in a world where we get to see more of Mark Spector and more Moon Knight. I only give it the 4 because of my fears for MacGuffin and because some very shoddy CGI. But my rating is 4 goblins out of goblins. 5 goblins. 4 out of 5.
Yeah, okay. So my rating has to be 4.5 geeks out of 5 geeks. Um, Only because I do agree with you with the CGI. The only reason I think I have it higher is because I'm not as worried for the MacGuffin as you are. I'm just trying to like rate this as a standalone episode. And I just the emotional highs and lows that I went through in the span of this hour or so. It was freaking powerful, man. Like I enjoyed every second of it, and the fact that I was still thinking about it at work, where I would just zone out and just be thinking about what I just witnessed the night before. Um, yeah, 4.5 sounds right. I want to give it a 5, but I can't just give everything a 5 out of 5.
That's
I
fair.
already gave the Batman a 5 out of 5.
It deserved it.
So,
It deserved it.
it did. It did.
All
It
3
did.
hours deserved it.
Oh, for sure. For sure, I agree with you. And but I don't want to be known as the guy who gives everybody everything 5 out of 5.
That's fair. You
So
have to set
just
a
for that
precedent.
reason, yeah, that's true. I don't want to set a precedent. That's the thing. That's the thing.
That's fair.
And
Okay, sure.
so 4.5. That's my final score. Lock it in.
Okay. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of Geeks and Goblins for this week. Join us next Saturday. We don't know what we're going to be talking about yet, but we know for a fact we will be talking about Moon Knight Episode 2. We are going to be doing weekly get-togethers on these episodes, breaking down the episodes, giving a review of the episode, and kind of just talking about it all together. And going forward, we will be doing that as well with Kenobi. We will be doing that with Miss Marvel. Any major property that pops up in between films and television shows. Television shows we'll do weekly. Films we'll do them as they come out, as we see them. I think the only thing we've agreed we're not going to touch on so far is Halo. And I don't know. Maybe we should see Sonic. I guess. I don't know if the people want to see us give a review on Sonic. I think we can work that out at some point.
At least Sonic has Jim Carrey. Halo has nothing.
Yeah, I think we can agree that at least Sonic is not Morbius.
Oh yeah, that's true. That
Yes.
is true.
And yeah. I don't need to watch it to know it was bad. I knew it was going to be bad from the trailer. But I digress. Sir, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Utopian Revolt. You can find me on OG Goblin Gaming on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wednesdays for the Harry Potter tabletop RPG once that comes back, and Geeks and Goblins on Saturday nights. You can also catch me on the OG Goblin, the Goblin Gang Discord, and very soon in the works. I say this every single stream, but my own platform coming soon.
Fair enough. And as always, you can catch me here at OG Goblin Games. You can catch me on Pardon Gaming. You can catch me on... I did that every stream. You can do that. You can catch me as well on Twitter at OG Goblin Games. And pretty much everywhere, OG Goblin. You Google OG Goblin, you can pretty much find me. And yes, we will be back this Wednesday with Harry Potter Tabletop. There was just a little hiccup last week, but this week, it's popping off. I'm not going to tell you all what's going to happen, but you should be excited. Thank you all for tuning in. Do you have any words for the people?
If you haven't, well, I mean, we spoiled the whole freaking episode, but if you haven't watched Moon Knight episode 1, do it. And don't buy the 3090 Ti.
Go watch it. Don't buy it. And don't subscribe to Paramount Plus for Halo. They didn't even play the game, they said. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you on the next one. Thank you for rocking out with us. Have a good night. Peace out.